Good Friday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on Real Talk with Keith Smith. It's a pleasure to connect with you on a show that's presented by Yes Realty Partners. Find them online at yesrealtypartners.com. They are helping folks buy and sell real estate here in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and across Central Virginia. They've been doing it since 1987. They're pretty darn good at doing it. Judah Wickower behind the camera. Judah Wickower, also known as J-Dubs. If you can welcome Keith Smith to the show as I give a little props and attention to Intrastate Service Company, a home's best friend, ISC. I have seen it firsthand, what Greg Wells and his team at Intrastate Service Company can do for you. Judah, Keith, good Friday morning.
Morning. We're going to do another fun Friday day today. We've been talking about, we've done it, I think last Friday, had a lot of fun on it. I kind of want to just have a lot of fun, and I did a quick Facebook post before I hit the road to come in town today about, what's your funniest real estate moment? And I have to give a shout out to Michael Plecker because he kicked off the idea this morning by sending a little meme to me about, and I posted it on my Facebook page about balloon payoff with a clown holding a balloon and the banker saying, technically he's right. This is a balloon payment. So I just wanted to have a little fun today and see what the viewers and listeners, if they've got a fun experience that happened during real estate. We talk about the stuff that is sometimes not as fun. Mm-hmm. So what was fun? What was the funniest thing that ever happened to you in a real estate transaction?
It seems you have some crayons with you today.
I do have some crayons. This is for a little later in the show. Today is beginning of the Memorial Day weekend, and for those of us who know Marines, they call us crayon eaters. So, that's apparently a little bit of an inside joke.
So does that mean you're going to eat crayons today?
Well, this is part of the fun. I've been known to do this before. Usually alcohol was involved in it.
Okay.
So we might have to lean over there and go ahead and get that. But you know what? So those who have not seen me cycle, so I have a patch that I put on the back of my cycling.
Which is most people have not seen you cycle.
This is true. Nobody wants to see me in spandex.
Well, you're riding a bike by yourself.
And I got spandex on. But I put a patch. I had a patch made up that I put on the back of my jersey that I clip on or I safety pin on. So we lose between 15 to 20 vets to suicide a day. So
wow.
It's a raise awareness, and so there's a website that people can donate and all that stuff. But if somebody wants to donate some money to veteran suicide awareness, and if it's enough money, I might eat a crayon.
What is the most fun you've had in real estate, my friend? Why don't you start kick us off with a fun story? Most of these transactions I would not necessarily characterize as fun, but.
Yeah. So I think
characterize as long. I would characterize them as prolific in paperwork and requests. I would characterize them as uncertain. How do they characterize buying and selling real estate? Vanessa Parkhill, good morning.
Well, I will tell you the strangest thing that I've
had strange things happen.
Yeah, so strange fun. It depends on how you.
There's fun when the deal is closed.
Yeah, well, the fun part is giving the keys to the buyer or the seller, reaching their goal. I'll tell you the strangest thing that's ever happened to me. I don't think I've ever told you this before, but in a final walkthrough. So those who are not done a transaction in a while, the day of closing, you do a final walkthrough. Well, on this particular one. The movers actually put a baby grand through a plate glass window.
Oh.
So we walked in to do it, and they were in the middle of trying to figure that out. So we walked in at closing. That was the strangest thing that has ever happened to me in a transaction. That there was a baby grand piano hanging out half out of a bay window or a plate glass window.
So how'd you handle that?
That was very interesting. It was a domino deal, so we had to close.
Okay.
So we ended up putting up a substantial amount of money in escrow and got it fixed. Actually, the buyer came out ahead, so it actually worked out okay. But that was my strangest thing that's ever happened.
Travis Hackworth and Johnny Ornelas say good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. The most fun I've had in a real estate deal. Well, I do enjoy when the purchase is made.
You like the negotiations. So.
I do like the negotiation. Just I enjoy navigating the process. I enjoy trying to set expectations. I'm not sure the adjective "fun" is something that I can utilize.
Well,
and any of the ones that I've done.
So you're looking at a guy who wrote this that probably doesn't know what an adjective is. So maybe "fun" was the wrong choice of words. But what was your most unique? I will tell you, there's one that I posted with Kermit, and we can get this out. With this whole HGTV thing.
HGTV, yes.
And how it seems all these transactions all seem to magically happen within a very preset 30 minutes or however the hell long.
My favorite is the show House Hunters, where it's a couple looking to buy a house, and one of them might be someone who laces shoes professionally, and the other one might be, someone who is a window cleaner, and they can afford a $900,000 home in San Francisco. Make it make sense.
They probably, yeah. So tell us how that works, Coach.
We need to highlight, and I'm, often of late have found myself in this conversation with my beautiful wife, that HGTV and that programming is entertainment. It's television content. It's content to drive ratings and not a reflection of real life. Ask any home remodeler about that.
So I go back so far. This was this old house, right? And I used to carry.
Is that Bob Villa?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like way back when it was on PBS in the 18th century or whatever year that was. When I was building, I used to carry two change orders with me. One was for 1,000 and one was for 10,000. Now, keep in mind, most of the folks I built from were from the Northeast. So they were used to people being a bit of a wise, you-know-what. The first time they mentioned Bob Vila, I stuck the $1,000. I said, sign this. That just cost you $1,000. And everybody laughs, ha, ha, ha. And they did it again. I slid to 10,000. I got more. We can keep on going, But, look, at certain points it's okay, but it is so not in reality of what it takes to do a transaction. And transactions.
Is there any one that's more realistic than the other? Is there one that's the most realistic?
To be totally honest with you, I've watched a couple for about 13 seconds and started laughing and moved on, because for me it's a double-edged sword, right? So one is I've got the real estate agent hat, but then I've also built a substantial amount of houses, and then I'm just like looking at these renovation projects they're doing and going, yeah, that's not real, and it's just that is not life. If you watch these shows and you think that this is the way real estate transactions happen nowadays, it's not. Real estate transactions have gotten so complicated over the years, right? 20 years ago it was a lot easier.
Why do you think that is?
Wow, that's a great question.
Why have they gotten more complicated when technology has become more improved and ubiquitous and approachable? And if technology is more improved, ubiquitous, and approachable, you would think those tools would make deals easier.
Well, they actually do, but the complications come from regulatory side of things. I've got a transaction we're working on in Richmond, actually this morning. Just to put it into perspective, it's a cash transaction. Excuse me, it's not a cash transaction. The gentleman is putting 50% cash down, right? He's from overseas.
Okay.
The money isn't seasoned. So
explain what that means.
So that means that the money has to be in his account for a certain period of time. It's 90 days. This particular lender. So now we've got to pivot. We've got to come up with a solution in order to move forward, because his 50% cash is not seasoned, and we're actually borrowing more money, putting less down payment down, because he can demonstrate this amount of money that's been in a while. But, that's something you didn't really deal with 20 years ago, right? Nobody really cared. Or you have a situation where the client is doing cash and the proof of funds is not them, right? We know about that, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you navigate that? So it just becomes multiple levels more complicated. A lot of it is regulatory reasons on it, but that's the reason I've said years ago.
So you think you're working harder now than when you first started?
Hands down.
Way harder.
Way harder. Substantially harder. Now it's easier, right? So because we can do DocuSign and we can do all these kind of different technical stuff that makes life simple. I can schedule showings in Richmond with showing time. We're going to do it here in Charlottesville. Thank God the car board has agreed to do that. So I can do that stuff technically right now easier. But it's just way more complicated, particularly on the buyer side, right? You're constantly looking and trying to get homes and trying to navigate those expectations.
Jason Howard said, when signing the paperwork for our refinance, and Jason Howard, we've dubbed him the king of Rio Road. He said, when signing the paperwork for our refinance, the water main down the street burst. Myself, my wife, and the mortgage agent had to move our cars so they would not get flooded.
Yeah, and technically now you don't have water to the house.
Unless the paperwork that he's signing is at the mortgage officer's location.
Well, this is a refi. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah.
not a purchase, right? It was a refi. Yeah.
When signing the paper for a refinance, I would imagine he was at the mortgage officer's house or a mortgage officer's office.
Right, but here's the situation, right? Back to this final walkthrough, right? So you're buying, in the morning of, there is a water main break. Now you don't have water to the house. So what do? Do we have faith that it's going to get fixed, or is it a problem between the water main and the house? That is why you do your final walkthrough, that everything...
What's the craziest thing you've seen on final walkthrough? Was it the baby grand piano?
It was the baby grand piano through the front plate glass. It was literally it was on the ground floor hanging out of the window.
Have you seen any deals fall apart because of the final walkthrough?
Oh.
What's the craziest you've seen in a commercial?
I've seen deals try to fall apart at the final walkthrough that we were able to save and put back into, because it becomes a matter of escrow, but it really depends on the situation, right? So if it's a cash buyer and they don't have to move, it could potentially fall apart at the last minute.
Have you, what's the craziest thing or most frustrating scene you've seen in a commercial deal you've done?
Oh, I've told this story before. Did I tell you the story that it almost fell, a $5.5 million deal almost fell apart over $5,000 worth of furniture?
Tell us that story.
Yeah, so this is why I, as a rule, do not like mixing personal property with real property. So just to set the stage for that, real property is attached to the land. It's real estate, right? Personal property is furniture, those type of things. So this was, Jerry, this was an intercompany sale. Company A was buying from Company B a medical facility in Richmond. And I was asked to help negotiate it and put it together. At the closing table, everybody got a little upset over the value of office furniture, that it was off by $5,000. So sellers said they weren't getting paid $5,000 enough. Buyer said, well, we're not going to close because we're not paying an extra $5,000 for that. That was the craziest commercial transaction I did. And you're going to ask me how we solved it.
How'd you solve it?
Well, my fee was this.
Yeah, you just shrunk it a little bit. Cover the
I
5K.
literally pulled out my personal checkbook and wrote a $5,000 check and handed it to the seller and said, now can we close? And we closed.
And what did the seller say?
They took the check.
Of course.
They took the check. Everybody was happy. I made $5,000 less and I moved on. But this is about, making the compensation, making the compensation, making the contract close and getting everybody to the finish line. But yeah, that was weird. I mean, you would think. I mean, these are really big corporate entities that they would not end up at that point over $5.5 million transaction over 5,000. But it happens, Coach.
My interesting story, the dentist office I purchased that we remodeled into executive office space behind us, the dentist was a fantastic gentleman named Dr. Trice Taylor. Dr. Taylor, when he retired, Judah, how old do you think he was? Very hunchback, very kind, north of 80 years old when he retired. And in the midst of doing the deal, Dr. Taylor, represented by Tim Carson, who you know well, I represented myself. Dr. Taylor just moved to Arkansas. And he wasn't somebody that, he was 80 plus, was not one that had a computer or phone or the internet. And was not privy to DocuSign, and documents were not signed prior to him moving. And there was some discussion made to someone driving to Arkansas to get Dr. Taylor's signature on the documentation. Long story short, he decided to make a trip back to Charlottesville. Took him 4 or 5 days. He's since passed away. Our rest in power, Dr. Taylor, fantastic man. But if he had not made that trip, there was people prepared to get in a car to drive to Arkansas to get a signature and drive back.
I had a similar situation with a family living in the Philippines to buy one of the condos of Barrington, the Pentlow, because their kid was coming to play tennis for at the time it was Brian, when they were number one at that point.
Brian Bolin?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, friend of the program.
Played tennis for him, and I needed to get in connection with the U.S. Embassy in the Philippines to go ahead and make sure everything was witnessed and wet signatured, and then we were allowed. The seller was allowed to close while the documents were in transit. So there's all these kind of different things. By and far, this stuff doesn't happen. There is something I want to talk about. Which is not necessarily funny, but there's a meme there that I put in here, is when the listing agent is present for showings, I'm going to add in quotations, when the cameras and the microphones are on, and your buyer shows too much excitement, right? So it's a bit of a joke, but it's a real thing to talk about, right? And things that are different now than 5 or 20 years ago, that, so the listing agent is supposed to disclose if there's recording devices or cameras in the home. I don't necessarily mean that the seller told the buyer,
right,
assuming a listing agent, that. So we always say, look, don't get too super excited. We've got to be careful about what we talk about in a home, because we could be recorded.
How often do you think that is actually happening?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I know it saved my butt this weekend, though.
How so?
So we were up at the race.
Okay.
Because I'm of a certain age,
yeah.
I have medicine that I bring with me, and I also have ibuprofen I bring with me.
Okay.
And sometimes Forrest the dog, because we leave, he gets pissed. He goes into stuff and he rips up whatever. So he got into my biking bag and opened up the bag, the plastic bag, my little druggy Ziploc bag I've got.
Okay. Yeah, everyone's got that.
And so anyway, it was all over the place. So there was ibuprofen all over the floor. We thought we picked them all up until our 1.5-year-old granddaughter starts running in with an ibuprofen in her mouth.
Oh.
So now we're all freaking out. Did she eat anything like that? So I had a senior moment. I went, hold it. Yasmina has cameras, because of their security system. So she went and looked in the Caribbean and actually played back the video, and all she did was put this one in. So it saved us from going to the
How
hospital.
did Yaz respond to you guys?
get your shit together. Oh, did I say that out loud? Yeah, I can't go away, right? That kind of stuff. But yeah, it was a great help.
Did they have a good trip?
I had a great trip. It was too short, as usually those things go, but it was a great trip. So if you're going to go, it's kind of like it's like when I was living behind the Iron Curtain back in the first half of the 80s. Always assume somebody's listening to you. Always assume somebody's watching you. And don't go ahead and play your hand of excitement. The meme is excitement, but it's best to sometimes walk outside and have those delicate discussions.
Jason Howard does say this: we were signing at our home, and the county had the water fixed the same day. So that's good to hear from you, Mr. Jason Howard. We appreciate you watching the program. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. We'll relay them live on air. You also wanted to talk on the show, Keith, and you sent us the email, which I wanted to get to, so we make sure we don't forget, about some real estate, some item in the real estate news cycle. Why don't we start open-ended, then I have specifics for you.
Yeah, so, being Memorial Day and having the conversation about the Veterans Administration and helping those to reduce the veteran suicide. I'll stay on that real quick. As a disabled veteran myself and a wounded veteran as myself, not all disabilities or wounds are visible, right? So if you know a vet and you think they're struggling, do yourself a favor, Google it. The VA is freaking awesome. I love it. They have a really great suicide prevention program. Matter of fact, on Wednesday morning, I had my blood work done. Every time you walk in, they do a suicide screening in a doctor's appointment, which is really, just great, which is helpful because according to the numbers, it was around 22 a day, and it's dropped down to around 17, which is 17 too many, but we're going in the right direction. I think that has a lot to do with it. That being said, we talked about this, right? That the regulators...
Veterans Affairs will suspend rule blocking vets from paying agents.
And what's buried in the article, the second half of that is, that also means they're suspending having the seller also pay it. So we've talked about this, that with this NAR settlement and everybody kind of hitting the panic button, that the regulators would start making pivots. Now, this is only on the VA loan side of things, right? So right now, they've suspended it for 2 years. The thinking, I'm assuming, is to give them 2 years to kind of work through how we're going to go do this. But right now, prior to this suspension of this rule, because most VA loans are 100%. So they have suspended the rule that the buyer can pay the real estate commission. So if you enter into a buyer-broker agreement with a veteran who's using the VA, just to kind of use an example, right, and the seller's saying, hey, I'm not paying any of the buyer-broker's compensation, then now the veteran can do it, assuming they have the capital and all this kind of great stuff to do that. They were not allowed to do that, so that the buyer-broker agreement with the veteran wasn't exactly legal. Because if they were using a VA loan, so what this did is it excluded veterans from participating in the market.
Which is the worst.
Yeah, and as a veteran, they took too long to get this right, but they got it right before it got enacted, which is in August. So at the end of the day, they did that. I think you're also, and Freddie and Fannie has also changed their rules a little bit on it. We talked about that in previous shows. So you're going to start seeing some of these regulatory requirements change. Except, what's the except, Jerry? What did DOJ say?
Tell us.
So DOJ is not exactly tickled pink about this NAR settlement. So
I know.
DOJ is the Department of Justice, right? So a little warning out there to everybody, particularly those who have real estate license. DOJ at the last minute can say, we're not happy with this, and proceed with some sort of legal action. So let's quantify this. So DOJ would have to be a lawsuit. They would have to actually go through a judicial process. On the other side, you have another agency at the moment that can do that by executive order right now, which is the Federal Trade Commission. So Federal Trade Commission, because President Biden gave this authority to do this, could on its own say, I don't like this, and I am changing all the rules. Now, the likelihood of that happening before
Slim to none.
November is beyond slim to none. The lawsuit by DOJ is more likely.
For sure.
More likely because it follows this long, protracted process. The short version is this rule's coming in place. DOJ may end up saying, I don't like it, and file some sort of injunction to stop it. I'm not an attorney, don't even play one on TV. But, this is long from over. But our vets are now being taken care of.
You have often said, though, the prediction with all that's coming down the pipe is it's not really going to impact the market too much.
Well, it has it?
No, I don't think it really has.
It's not, right? I know, but
it's been headlines.
Yeah.
And people have asked questions.
Yeah.
But when it's all said and done, folks are going to get representation.
Correct. They have to choose for it. The issue here is what it should have always been. I have to have a conversation with my buyer's agent, and I have to get a buyer-broker agreement that spells out how this is going to work. How we've never had, we had this in the state of Virginia since 2012, I believe, or for 12 years. I may have my 12s mixed up. Why this has never been the case around the country is beyond me. But look, you have to clearly delineate how you get paid. And, money makes people funny. Talking about money, some people are difficult to do. I've never have that issue, right? But they do. I mean, some agents are uncomfortable about speaking about how they get compensated. I don't get it, but that's them, and they have the right to run their businesses the way they do. But this is going to be clear. You're going to see, once I get a couple of one more lawyer to approve it, I'm going to actually bring in Bill Tucker and a guy by the name of John Ralston once I get back from happy vacation to talk about an amendment that we've all created with a bunch of real estate agents, real estate attorneys, that we're going to start adding at least to our transactions.
To what? YRPs? Yes, Realty Partners?
Yes.
Why isn't this something that's done at a higher level?
I think eventually it will. I want to stay in front of it.
Okay.
Right.
And where do you think it would be done at? The Virginia Association of Realtors
without
level?
doubt. Those are.
How often does that document get changed?
Oh, quite regularly.
Yeah.
If you go take a look in it, it constantly gets updated. It constantly gets amended. Multiple documents constantly get amended. Look, what we do is it's a living document. It changes as the legal environment changes. But this addendum is actually going to be titled Commission Disbursement Addendum, and it's going to be very clear who's paying what, how much, and when. You do enough commercial. It's always been buried in commercial. We've been talking about that this will be commercial. It will look like commercial. Looking to buy homes is going to be like commercial, because everything I don't think is going to be unified under one MLS. This is long term.
Yeah.
So this is, if you want to know a little bit about how business is going to be run, start looking at some commercial stuff, because that's how it's going to be functioning.
That's good analysis by you.
It's the coffee.
Coffee's kicking in.
I don't even have one with me. I've been behind a computer since 3:30.
What was the morning like? What were you working on?
Dude,
Yeah?
Yeah, we are, this is for Micah. Here you go.
That's what there. Yeah.
We're super blessed. We are extremely busy. So I was cranking out offers and amendments and stuff, and we do, I don't know if I should talk about this or not. Since I'm a Class A general contractor, we have certain sellers that we've known for a long time that are moving on to the next stages of their lives.
Okay.
And don't have the capital or the resources or the ability to get their homes ready for the market.
Okay.
So we've got 2 full house renovations we're doing because they've been in the homes for 30, 40 years. They haven't done anything to it. We need to make these updates. They have moved on to nursing homes, this sort of thing. So I swore I would never do this again.
Yeah.
But it's all about helping people. So part of my morning is getting contractors to do what they said they were going to do.
Okay.
Which is always a struggle.
Okay.
So that's what I was on the phone and sending texts and emails and making sure schedules are done, because I've got to get these projects done because I've got some other ones that we need to move on. But I swore to God, sorry, Lord, I swore to God I would never get in this again. And these are not huge, kitchen redos, painting, sanding floors, that new roofs, simple stuff. It's not major renovation work. So that was my morning. I was working on contracts.
Sounds like some estimates may be coming down the pipeline soon.
Hopefully.
Estimates that were a couple weeks overdue.
Estimates are a couple of weeks overdue, but measurements did happen yesterday, so that's a step in the right direction.
Measurements are always a good sign.
Yeah, brother, it is.
I'm in the business of doing estimates on the regular and generally turn those around in less than 48 hours.
Yeah. That's
the first step to getting the project started.
Absolutely.
And getting paid.
There you go. The people that are in the building business right now, to talk about something that is harder than it's ever been, it's that. There's nobody available to work, right? The regulatory environment is off the charts. 25% of new construction is due to regulatory requirements. It's just hard to get people to do things. It's just hard to get people to show up. But anyway, we're working on it. It's a lot of fun.
I like it.
Did I just lie?
No, I like it. You actually enjoy it. You like the organized chaos.
Yeah, I do actually.
I know you do.
Well, I was at a business dinner on Wednesday and had this conversation with a fellow real estate agent. It was Kerry Griggs, to be exact.
How's he doing?
He's doing great. So he does a little bit of the same thing because he's a trades guy. He knows how to do things, right? And we were talking about the difference between like building a house or renovating a house and the real estate side of things. And even if you've got a bad day on the building side of the house, something happens. You can physically see it. Sometimes you'll work for 12 hours on the real estate side and on the realtor side, and you just think to yourself, what in God's holy name did I accomplish today? So sometimes, physically, and we were doing the Jaws thing, right? So I've got scars from being in the field. He's got scars. We may have had a drink.
Yeah. Kerry's a good guy.
And we were literally rolling up pants and arms and go, yeah, this is where my father shot me in the arm which is a true story. My father shot me in the arm with a nail gun and literally nailed my arm to the wall with a nail gun.
Because he was part of the company, right?
Oh, yeah. He often would say I'm the father of the president. And she shot my arm to the wall. And he looked at me and he said, shut up and keep on working. I said, but I can't get my arm off the wall. So he pulled out the hammer, pulled the nail out. He said, you're okay. And we kept on working. And then when the day was over, he let me go get a tetanus shot just to make sure everything was okay.
Judah Wickower loving the story over here. How's Pop doing? Logan Wells, Claylo, hello.
I know they watch, so I have to be careful. Good. They're doing well. He's in his early 80s. He's doing well. They've had some serious loss in their lives recently, in my life too. And so, that's always a struggle. So they're struggling through it. But health at the moment, I think they're doing good. But, it's been a tough month with a lot of family loss.
This comes on the feed. Speaking of veterans, Veteran benefits. Did you see the recent changes to educational benefits for veterans and dependents in Virginia?
I did not.
Other forms of aid now have to be applied first in many cases.
Look, the VA gets a bad rap. I love the VA. They take care of me tremendously. I get medicine that I have to inject in my stomach every morning from Germany, shipped directly to my house like clockwork once a month. Once a month I have to go through all these tests and blood work and stuff like that. They are great to work with. I get text reminders, email reminders, phone call reminders. You walk in, they say, the first thing that they say, everybody in the VA at the clinic here, thank you for your service. And then they start. It's just unbelievable. A lot of people don't know, it's the largest medical health service in the world. If everything was run as smoothly as my experience has been, they should be running the health services for the country.
There you go.
I never questioned. I may or may not have inadvertently took a dive in the pool with my hearing aids in. I may have done that.
They fixed them for you, though.
They got me brand new ones.
Yeah.
These are $15,000 a piece.
Right.
That's going to be for a set.
Right.
No problem, sir. Had it in a week. Like,
On the not your dime.
no, I haven't paid a penny. I don't pay a penny. Okay, I take that back. So the medicine that I take is about $3,500 to $4,000 a month. I pay $22 a month for that.
Unbelievable.
And what I have to do, the only thing I have to do, believe it or not, they pay for all the medicine, so I've got to inject myself with it's about a 1-inch needle.
Okay.
I have to buy my own needles. So I go on Amazon, I buy 1,000 of them for $16, right? And you put it on this.
No needle phobia for you?
No, but I keep them the hell away from Yonna, though. True story about that. Did you know Yonna was Advanced Life Support Rescue Squad?
Yeah, you told me. Yeah. I knew that. I don't think a lot of people don't know a lot of stuff about Yonna. She's also a very talented race car driver.
She is. She is.
Yeah.
She is licensed to rally race in Europe. So those who do not know about rally racing, it's that crazy stuff you see people go down the side of the road with all these people standing on the side. She can do that. True story about that. First car that we bought was let me see, this was in 98, 99. 98, we bought a 98 Honda Civic EX 5-speed, and we traded it in within 2 years. I think it had 90,000 miles on it. When we brought it in, the guy said, "Man, did you put new brakes on that?" I said, "Yeah, no. My wife don't put a foot on the brakes.
That's great.
She'll drive from Charlotte on 53 to Charlottesville.
Just working the stick.
And she'll work the stick. She'll never do that.
That's a skill.
We taught both our daughters to drive stick shift.
What kind of car?
Oh, God. Well, one was a pickup truck, and the other was a red Jeep Cherokee. Oh, God, I can't remember what year it was. But I had a pickup truck.
Who picked it up quicker? Learning stick on a pickup truck. Was it a work truck?
Yeah, it was one of my work trucks.
That ain't easy.
No, she did good.
Yeah. That must have been
I
gas.
can tell you, I may have been inside of the red Jeep Cherokee with Yasmin on Route 53 when she couldn't, on uphill, when she couldn't get it into gear. Shut it off, put it into first, and jumped out of the car in the middle of the road, said, "I'm done," and walked away. Yeah. So I would say.
So what, you guys then switch? And you drove?
No, I drove home and let her walk home.
No, you didn't.
You bet your tushki I did.
You walked home on 53?
I did. I made her walk home.
Come on now.
I made her walk home. God is my witness.
I bet that still comes up.
And it comes up all the time.
That ain't a safe road there, Smith.
You know what? If she's going to be that kind of way in the middle of Route 53, now if those are familiar with 53, it was over.
53 ain't safe.
Yeah. Well, it was close to Garden Lane, so she could actually cut through, and so she was only on 53 for a few hundred yards before she could cut through the woods and get home. But I made her walk home. Then I said, "Are we going to try this again?" She goes, "Yep." okay, let's do this. And she got it. She got it. But I wanted both my daughters to learn how to drive stick shift so they could drive anything at any time.
And they can.
They can.
How's the Richmond market? You love pushing into that market. Because the reason I asked that is because your daughter's interested in helping you guys open the Richmond market.
Yeah. I'm working on a transaction today. That was what I was doing this morning. Yeah, working on a transaction. Used homes.com. Spoke to the agent. So this is in essence how this is going to go come August, right? I mean, we can use because the compensation is not going to be part of the MLS. So I used the homes.com to set up the appointment. I used showing time to set up the appointment to go in there. We've got common lockbox keys. I got in, we did it. Before I walked in and unlocked it, I emailed and called and texted the agent and I said, we're going to go show the home. I need the MLS sheet. So they sent me the MLS sheet, which shows you what I'm going to get compensated. I showed it to my client. I said, okay, I put in the buyer broker agreement X eggs. They're paying Y eggs. This is over. Hold it. X is, which is before Y? X, Y. X, yeah. I'll get this right. Good Lord, Smith. It's not easy being me, Jerry. So let me get this right. Our buyer agreement is X, they're paying Y, and what I'm giving back the difference to them to pay closing costs on it. Because my agreement was a different number. But it worked perfectly.
That's good. Michelle Shine says, the VA sucks for many of us.
I'm sorry.
I'm super happy you've had a great experience, Keith, but it's not like that for everyone.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I hear it all the time, and my experience has been awesome. I don't go to the Richmond VA. I do the Charlottesville VA, and my specialist doctors are all UVA doctors. I go to UVA for that. So I would love to talk to you offline. I don't know. Maybe I did something. I don't know why the experience is different, but for me, it's been awesome.
Is that Charlottesville's finest or bravest right there?
Bravest.
That's the bravest?
Yeah.
You can tell the difference between
my hearing aids pick up the difference.
Okay. Yeah. They pick that up, but not when I'm talking to you across the room?
That's maybe because I don't want to listen to it.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, so keep in mind, the microphones for these are this way. They don't face you. Plus, maybe I don't want to listen to you. Yeah, so I wish you all the luck in the world. I've been super blessed, and was always reluctant to talk too much about it on the show because Murphy's Law will kick in, and then all of a sudden it's going to go sideways. But it's been awesome so far.
Do you? This is coming the feed. How many of the deals are you seeing with 20% down payment? Large majority do not have 20% down payment, I would say.
Yeah. So statistically, it's not right.
What is it? If you had out of 10 deals, how many with 20% down?
So for us,
yeah,
most of them have it.
Cash?
No, most of them have either cash
or 20% plus.
Some of the entry level, the first-time home buyers, are typically in the 3 to 5% range. But it depends on the market, right? Because if you're in multiple competition situations, the more cash you put down, the stronger you are, right? And there's some magic number, depending on your credit score, which we should talk about, that you can get what's called an appraisal waiver from the lender, right? So if you're putting...
depends on the type of deal you're doing.
It depends on
you're going to have a hard time getting appraisal waiver.
It has to be a conventional loan.
Yeah, on a jumbo loan, something that's...
It would
Jumbo's not going to have an appraisal waiver.
Yeah. So good catch. It would be typical convention. The one I'm doing in Richmond is doing it.
Yeah,
right.
But that's what, below the 727 or 7, whatever the number is, yeah.
We're just a skosh below it.
Yeah.
And they're putting enough money down that and plus the credit score is such that
they're good.
Yeah. So it's an appraisal waiver, but it is possible, right? It's for the right. So some of these conventional deals at that point with certain amount of money down and there are some waivers out there that you could be eligible for.
Sean Tubbs has got content out today. This is on the feed about price reductions in the area. He said in recent months, the amount of emails from Realtor.com that contain the phrase price drop have been more plentiful.
Sure.
And then he rattles off quite a few that have price drops here. That's just some sellers with some unexpected.
Well, so I'm looking at it right now. So the last 7 days going back, 91 came on the market, but 69 were price reductions. And depending on where he's looking at, the largest price reductions in the city of Charlottesville.
One of them that he mentions in his stories on Morgantown Road in Ivy.
Yeah.
A $70,000 reduction.
And I think you're going to see that go even lower, to be honest.
I think so too.
So what happens is it depends on the circumstances, right? Some people are coming high. Price matters, right? It's always mattered. It matters even more now. Had this conversation with a seller yesterday, right? Their expectation of value was higher than where the market is at the moment. And we had to have that hard discussion because if you set that price too high, your eyeballs just go away. People just don't see it. So the thinking of, oh my God, there's no inventory, I can charge whatever I want, that's not a realistic expectation. So it has to be what the market is demanding at this particular point. Where Sean is not sharing is, yes, there are price reductions because I think people went into the market too high. They're now adjusting it. But guess what's increasing? Sales prices.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a catch on words that yes, there are price reductions, but the prices are increasing. The sales prices are increasing quarter over quarter, year over year. So don't think because of that article, all of a sudden prices are dropping. They're not dropping. They're just being adjusted.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference.
That's why I asked you.
Huge.
You put that in perspective. Your weekend plans, Keith Smith? Working?
Yeah.
Grinding? Tavola?
Pardon?
Tavola?
No. We're just slammed. And
no Tavola tonight for you and Yonna?
No. Yonna's just came back late last night, and we got work to do. And then we're heading out of town, for our normal little vacation trip that we do, and inevitably, the way this world.
Something's going to happen. I was just having this conversation with a client. As soon as someone who's self-employed uses the word vacation,
so there's a marketing.
Stuff hits the fan.
There's a marketing strategy out there that I subscribe to. If you got a listing that is a little long in the tooth and you're having trouble selling it, instead of spending money on anything else, just go on vacation. Let's call it an internal marketing program. I swear to the good Lord himself, it happens. The moment you go away, either that or the client that you've been nurturing for 2 to 3 years
is ready to rock and roll.
Right. And this is like the perfect client. It's multi-million dollars, got cash, ready to go. The moment they close the door on a plane, you will get a text and go, you know what? I'm ready to write an offer on such and such a house. It always happens.
And then what do you do in that scenario? Get one of your buddies to go, one of your colleagues to go? Or you hope they wait?
No, we're very fortunate, right? We've got...
Call in a Gavin or a Plecker?
We call in, anyone. So before we leave, we structure everything up, right? So if buyers come in, we work out who our buyers we have in our pool, our buyer pool, and we talk to Gavin or Michael or Lisa or any of our wonderful 12, 11 agents that are working with us right now. The same thing on the listing side. Plus, once we land, we've got Wi-Fi and we can do business down there. But yeah, no biking. I think I'm going to give my legs a break.
I'm out a week from today.
You
I'm
are.
missing Friday's Real Talk. Who's going to be in my seat? You putting that together?
Putting it together. There's a little conversation I think after the show we should have a little bit about that. So on what I was thinking for your input, but I'm working on it. How does that sound?
Keith Smith's always working.
So it's kind of like the same thing the contractors told me this morning. I'm doing my best. I'm working on it. Look, and they're calling me now.
And eventually you get that and you're like, come on, guys. Come on.
It's a double-edged sword, right?
I get that. You push too hard and then it backfires on you. It's a double-edged sword. So the fact that, it's a very difficult, it's tough, man. You can't hire, if you do it yourself, you can't hire people because there's nobody to hire. If you do subcontractors, which is what I do, then they can't hire people because nobody's out there to work. And it just becomes this vicious cycle. I just do it to help out clients, but the people that do that for a living, that is tough, man. Amen, brother.
Super tough.
Amen. Keith Smith, Yes Realty Partners, Judah Wickower. My name is Jerry Miller. It's Real Talk with Keith Smith, archived online at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. We appreciate you watching the program, per usual, and trust these guys. I've seen it firsthand. Keith and Yonna Smith,
Trust
they'll
the
get
guys
you
in the partners tab.
the closing tab. And click the partners tab on realtalkwithkeithsmith.com and find the trusted advisors in the game we call real estate.
I know this isn't Veterans Day or Veterans Weekend, but it is Memorial Day's weekend. And if you know there's a veteran in your life,
Check on them.
just check on them. Say, hey, how you doing? Buy them a cup of coffee or her a cup of coffee and just listen to what they have to say. You don't have to give answers. You don't have to do anything. Veterans, has been my experience, just show a little love. It'll come back your way.
There you go. I love it. Perfect way to close the program, guys. Enjoy the weekend. The I Love CVille show up at 12:30 p.m. So long, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.